Hello everyone, welcome to the session. In this session, we are going to automate the entire FBDI process using Oracle SOA Suite. Basically, we are going to develop a SOA composite to call different operations of ERP integration service and automate the entire FBDI process for journal import. Before we start developing the composite, we have to do few configurations in Weblogic server. Here, I am using integrated Weblogic server, hence all the setups I will do in my integrated Weblogic server. At real time, it will be done by the Weblogic admin guys, but it's always good to know something extra. The same setup can be carried out in any standalone Weblogic server also. So let's see what are the steps for configuring the Weblogic server to communicate with the Oracle Fusion Cloud Service. So first is we have to do hostname verification. We have to set up with value none. What is the navigation for that? Environment, then servers, click on server name link, click on SSL tab, click on advanced, find for field hostname verification. So let's go to admin console. So this is admin console. Click on environment, servers, then select the default server, which is basically the admin server. Then go to SSL tab, click on advanced, and here we have the option hostname verification. By default, it will have value BEA hostname verifier, but we have to set as none. Next, we have to import the certificates. As you can see, the WSDL ERP integration service, WSDL basically, it is having HTTPS. That does mean it is a secured web service. To import the certificate, first we need to know how to export the certificates from the WSDL link. So as you can see, there is a lock icon. So we have to click on that and then click on certificate. And we can see what are the certificates are there with this WSDL in the certification path tab. As we can see, there are three certificates: DigiCert, GeoTrust RSSCA 2018, and start.oracledemos.com. So these are the three certificates that are there in this WSDL. So we have to download all these three certificates and import all these three certificates in demotrust.jks and CScerts. Demotrust.jks is basically a key store file where all certificates are stored for Oracle SOA Suite. CScerts basically stores all the certificates for any Java security. Next, I will show you how to export these certificates and save it in a file. So select the certificate, click on Details tab, and then click on Copy to File. It will launch us in a certificate export wizard window. Click Next, and then we can select DER or base64 encoded certificate. So select base64 encoded certificate, click Next. Now click on the Browse button here and then give a certificate name. So it's always a good practice to give the certificate name with the name that is shown in the certificate path tab. So let's give Oracle Demos.cer. Right? So click Save and then click Next and Finish. Now we can see that certificate has been exported successfully. So we have to carry out the same activity for exporting the certificate for all other certificates available in this certificate path. So basically we have to do the same thing for DigiCert and GeoTrust RSA CA 2018 certificate also. So basically we have to export all the certificates that are enlisted under this tab. And we have to import these certificates in demotrust.jks and in CScerts by using the key tool command. The default password for demotrust.jks is demotrust key store passphrase, and for CScerts it is change it. Demotrust.jks is available under the SOA installation and then Weblogic server server, library, and demotrust.jks. C asserts will be available under JDK JRE lib security folder. Alright, so this is another very important and crucial step that we have to perform as part of Weblogic configuration. Next, we have to create credentials for Fusion instance in credentials store. So let's see how to do that. So let's launch the EM console. Then we have to navigate to Weblogic domain. So let's select Weblogic domain, click on default domain. Then click on this, select security, select credentials, and we have to create a map with name oracle.wsm.security if this does not exist beforehand. Now under this we have to create the keys, which is basically holding the Fusion instance login credentials. I have already created one with the name Fusion Credits, so you can create a key with any other name, but it should contain Fusion login credentials. So as you can see here, fin_impl is the user and the password for fin_impl I have given here. Okay, so let's click OK. So these are the steps that we have to do as part of configuration. Next, I am going to launch JDeveloper tool to develop the SOA composite for automating the FBDI process. So let's launch. So this is the JDeveloper tool. Now I will click on new application to create a new SOA application. So let's create SOA application. Click OK. Give it a name, FBDI automation SOA app. Click next. Now click on the project name to give some relevant project name, FBDI automation. Then click next. I'm going to select empty composite, though I will be using BPEL for the purpose of orchestration in this composite. Let's drag and drop a SOAP adapter to connect to the FBDI ERP integration service. So let's drag and drop, and I'm going to give name ERP integration service. Let's grab the WSDL. Okay, so here is the WSDL. Let's copy this and paste it over here. Tab out, and let's select port type as ERP integration service, and I will uncheck copy WSDL and its dependent artifacts into the project. Now click OK. So you can see all the operations are enlisted over here. As we have seen in our last lecture with SOAP UI tool, we can see all the operations, and the same operations can be seen here as well. So we have to understand what we are going to do over here. Basically, we will go with this flow diagram for FBDI process automation. So first step is to prepare the data file using template. So we already have filled the template, and once we fill the template, we can generate the .csv file. So let us have a look at the .csv file. So here is the .csv file, and I have entered all the details in the template, and then I generated this .csv. Alright, so next I am going to zip this CSV, and I have placed that zip in this file with name GLinterface_3.zip. So we are done with the first step. Next, we will have to pull this file from that particular directory in a binary format, which is basically opaque format in terms of SOA, right? So you'll have to use a file adapter to pull the file as a binary file. Okay, so let us do that. So I'm going to drag and drop a file adapter here. I'm going to give a name, poll journal zip. Okay, Let's make this O in small case. Next, next, next. I'm going to pull it so it would be read file. Next, I have to add the directory. So let's add this directory name here. Okay, I want to archive it. So let's select some path. So let's say I want to archive it in my work folder. Select and then delete after successful retrieval from this folder. Next, file pattern, I'm going to give star.zip. Next, and then I'm going to set polling frequency as some seconds. Let's say some 5 seconds. Click next, and here I'm not going to select any XSD because I want the file to be converted into base64 encoded format, basically binary byte format. Alright, so I have to select native format. Translation is not required. So schema will be opaque. Click next and finish. So this will pull the file, pull the zip file and convert it into a base64 encoded text. And then this will transfer the message into a BPEL process, and BPEL will invoke multiple operations from this ERP integration service to have the FBDI process automation in place. Alright, so let us drag and drop a BPEL process over here. Let's give a name to it. FBDI BPEL process. I'm not going to define any web service. Select no service here. I will define it later. So click OK. Now I will make where between the file adapter and the BPEL process. Let's select OK. And then I'm going to do where between BPEL and the ERP integration service. Alright. Now I will double click on the BPEL. Let us drag and drop activities. So receive activity will receive the base64 encoded text from the file adapter. So let's make a where between these two. Before that, let us give some name to it. Receive zip content. Okay. And now make a where between these two. Give some variable name. Receive underscore zip content underscore read underscore input variable. Hit OK. Next, I'm going to drag and drop an invoke activity to invoke upload file to UCM operation. So let's give a name to the invoke activity. Invoke upload file to UCM. Okay. Now make a where between these two and select here upload file to UCM. Okay, so here it is, upload file to UCM. Now let's create input and the output variable for this operation invocation. Okay, and click OK. Next, what we are going to do is we have to map the base64 encoded text input to our upload file to UCM operations invoke input variable. So let's drag and drop a assign activity here. So assign zip content to the upload file to UCM. So this is this step, upload file to universal content management. Now we have to do the mapping inside. Let us select the receive variable. Click here, opaque element base64 binary, and invoke upload file to UCM input variable, and then expand this document, and we have to pass this in content. Here it is. Next, I'm going to add file name here, expression, let me copy the file name from here and paste it over here under single quotes, and I'm going to give it a name GL interface underscore 3. Click OK. Next, content type, so it is zip. So let's copy this and add an expression and enter value as zip. Click OK. Document title, I'm going to give the zip file name and update underscore 1 with underscore 3. Okay. Click on OK. Document author, basically the user for this instance, which I am using. Next, I have to select document security group. Here it is, document security group, add expression in single quotes, give FA Fusion import export. Next, document account, let's copy this, fin/general ledger /import and add over here. So that is it for initializing all the attributes for upload file to UCM operation. Click OK. Now the next step is to submit the job load interface file for import. Before that, we need to check whether the document is uploaded successfully in UCM content management server or not. So let us put a if condition over here. Okay, here it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the result after successful invocation of upload file to UCM operation in this output variable. So let us add condition to check whether the document ID is greater than 0 or not, to verify that document has uploaded successfully in UCM content server. So this is the output variable. Okay, so let's select this result and then insert into expression greater than 0. That does mean it has been successfully uploaded. Click OK. Here I'm going to give some name success. Click OK. Here failed. Click OK. And then here in failed case I'm going to exit. In case of success, I am going to launch the load interface file for import program. So let us drag and drop another invoke activity here. Give a name invoke underscore submit interface loader job. Right. So I'm going to make a where between invoke activity and ERP integration service. This time I'm going to select submit ESS job request. Here it is. Let us create the input and output variable. Click OK. So next I'm going to set all the attributes in order to invoke the load interface file for import program through submit ESS job request. So let us bring the request over here. So these are the parameters that I'm going to configure in the transform activity. So let us drag and drop a transform activity over here. Okay, so let us drag and drop a transform activity over here. So let's give a name transform loader interface job input. Okay, so let's click on this and then click on plus, click on source variable. Let us select the source variable as the invoke upload file to UCM, upload file to UCM output variable. Click OK, and let's wait for the source part to appear. It has appeared now. Click OK, and the target variable would be the invoke submit interface loader job submit ESS job request input variable. Click OK, and let the XSLT file name be default, and click OK. As you can see, an XSLT file is getting generated. Alright, so this is the one. Next, I will see the details from this request message, and I will configure the same thing in the JDeveloper transform activity. So job package name is basically the path of the concurrent job. Click on this edit text and click OK. Next, the job definition name, copy this and edit text value and put it here. The parameter list. So let us see what are the parameters. So first is 15. So let us hard code this. This is basically the interface code for input journals. So edit text value, enter 15, click OK. Now we need to add 3 more param list. So let us go to source and copy param list for another 3 times. So it would be n, and this one I will just do the mapping from front end, and I will remove this text value for the second node, because second node basically takes the document ID. So let's give that here and do a mapping. Alright, so we are done with the configuring submit ESS job request to submit load interface file for import. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to get the request ID. So if we get the request ID, that does mean the request submission is successful. So let us verify that as well. Before we submit the next program, we have to check the load interface file for import has completed successfully or not. So let us drag and drop a if activity here. Here I am going to check that the request ID has value greater than 0 or not. So let's select the output variable. Okay, select result, insert into expression. So if the request ID is greater than 0, that means request has been submitted successfully. Click OK. Now inside this, I'm going to wait for the request loader interface file for successful completion, or it can fail either, but since we are building a very basic version of the SOA composite, I will consider the happy path. Okay, so now I will wait in a infinite loop. Let us drag and drop while loop here, and I will give condition as a Boolean variable. Alright, so click OK. So let us define the same Boolean variable here in the variable section. Click on the plus icon and give a name. Okay, let's select type as Boolean. Here it is. Click OK and OK. Okay, so as soon as I submit, check the status inside while loop. So for that, I'm going to drag and drop an invoke activity. I'm going to give it a name, invoke check ESS job status, and I'm going to make a where between these two. So let's enlarge the window here and make a where between these two. Yes, get ESS job status. So click on the plus icon to create an input variable and click on this plus icon to create another output variable. Click OK. Now I will have to initialize the Boolean variable, and so to do that, let's drag and drop an assign activity here. So assign, I'm going to write bool var and double click here, assign bool var expression. I'm going to add true so that the loop is executed at least once. As we know that even if we submit the program, it will not get over immediately. So let us wait for 20 seconds first. Alright, so let us drag and drop wait activity here. And I'm going to wait for 20 seconds. Click OK. Next, within the loop, I'm going to check the status. Alright, before that, let us assign the request ID, which is the input for this check ESS job status. So assign underscore check ESS job status. So I'll just map this. So let us take the output variable of submit ESS job request result and do mapping here in the input variable for get ESS job status. Okay, so let's put it over here and click OK. Now I'm going to check if the status is succeeded. So let us put if clause here. I'm going to get the output of check process status, or we can say get ESS job status. Here it is. So in the output variable, it will have the job status. Click on this result, put it. So I'm going to write equal to CUCC EE succeeded. Click OK and then OK again. Now we will put exit for this else. So once the result is succeeded, it will execute the if flow, and we have to assign that Boolean variable with false value so that the while loop will not be executed any longer. Okay, so let's give value as false. Click OK. Okay. In the else flow, I will wait for another 20 seconds. So let's drag and drop wait activity here, and I will wait for 20 seconds. Click OK. When the flow control comes out of this while loop, we have to submit the next process, which is import journals. So let's configure the import journals in the same way. So let us drag and drop another invoke activity here. So let's rename invoke underscore submit import journals ESS job. Next, I will make a wire between this and the ERP integration service. The operation would be submit ESS job request. Click on this input variable to create one input variable and another output variable. Click OK. Next, I'm going to prepare the request message for this invoke. So let us drag and drop XSL to transform activity here. So let's give a name here. Transform import journals ESS input. Okay, so now double click on this plus icon to give the input variable. So the input would be the same input variable, though it doesn't matter at all because we are going to hard code everything for the target variable. So let's select the same variable as the target, and let's just remove _1 to have a default file name for the XSLT transform file and click OK. So the XSLT file is getting generated. So here is the request message that we have to create as per the one that we created in SOAPY. So let's copy the job package name, edit text value, enter the value here. Next, I will select the job definition name and put it here, edit text value, click OK. Now let's add parameters, and in order to add parameters, let us copy the parameters. So first I will copy the data access set, right click and edit text value and data access set ID. In order to add other param list, I have to go to source and then copy this param list for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 6 times. Next is spreadsheet, basically the source, then the ledger ID. Next is group ID. Next 3N. So let's replace all with N. We are done with the request preparation for import journals also. Let's go to design and see the view. Let's move to BPEL, enlarge this. Next, I am going to check as usual whether the request has been submitted or not. So drag and drop a if block here and write the expression, and then I have to select the output of import journals job submission variable, insert greater than 0. Okay, click OK here. Now let's drag and drop the while loop here. Here is the while loop. If something goes wrong, then exit. Next, in the while loop, we will again use the same Boolean variable. Click OK. Here I am going to initialize the Boolean variable again because last time it was set as false after successful execution of the load interface file for import program. Here I am going to reinitialize it with true. Click OK. Okay, and I will wait for 20 seconds immediately after submitting the program because it will take some time to process. So let's wait for 20 seconds initially. Next, I am going to check the process status in the while loop, and until it gets the final status with succeeded, I will iterate till that point in time until it gets status succeeded. Okay, so let's drag and drop another invoke activity here. So invoke and then use check process status. Now make a where between this and the ERP integration service. Select get ESS job status, click input and the output variable, click OK. Now let's prepare the request message for this invocation also. So drag and drop one assign activity here. So assign check process status input. Double click now, and here I'm going to pass the request ID of the import journals program submission request ID. Okay, so let's assign this in the input variable of check process status. Input variable, here it is, and this side I'm going to get the output variable of submit import journal CSS job, and let's map it here. Click OK. Now I will put another if block here to check the program status. So if here I'll write the expression, and then I'm just going to select the result of check process status operation output variable and equal to succeeded. Click OK and OK, and then if it is succeeded, I'm going to assign the Boolean variable again with status false so that the iteration stops there. Expression, I will make it false. Click OK and OK again. Here in the else, I'll wait for another 20 seconds. So let's double click and select 20 seconds and click OK. So we are done with the entire FBDI process automation using SOA BPEL. Now next, I'm going to deploy this composite in integrated Weblogic server. Let us create a deployment config file so that even if we want to deploy the same solution in different environment, we just have to change the WSDL URL, not the entire BPEL. Okay, so click on this composite, right click, generate config plan, and click OK, and it will generate the config plan, and you can see the location, which is basically the WSDL URL. So it should only be changed with respect to different environments. Rest of the things can remain same. Okay. Another important point is to attach the security policy here with ERP integration service. So let's click on this plus icon here, and let us select WSS_HTTP_token_client_policy and click OK. Next, select the policy and click on this pencil icon to edit. So CSF key would be Fusion Rates, and CSF map would be Oracle.WSM.security, as we have seen in the credential store. Let's click OK and click OK. Let's deploy. Click on deploy, select FBDI automation, deploy to application server, click next. And though it is not deployed in integrated Weblogic server, but I will select this, select the config plan, click next, and select integrated Weblogic server, select next, click next again, and click on finish. Let's go to build, check BPEL log, check the building status, and then the deployment is successful or not. As you can see, there is a error with no start activity in process FBDI BPEL process. To fix that, let's click on this BPEL process and click on this receive activity. So we have to check this option, create instance, in order to start the BPEL process, because this is the first activity that will be initiated by BPEL. So click OK and do the deployment process one more time. FBDI process, deployment to application server, override, then select the config plan, click next, 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 and finish. As you can see, the deployment has started. Okay, so deployment has finished since build is successful. So now let's go to file folder to to see whether the file is there or not. So it has been taken off. So the SOA process has kicked off. So let us refresh here to see the SOA process getting deployed here. And let's go to Flow instances. Click on search and it is in running status, as you can see. So let us go to monitor processes to see the process getting submitted. Yes. So load interface file for import has submitted. It has submitted since the document is uploaded successfully in USM content server. Refresh it one more time. So succeeded. As you can see, import journals program has also been submitted. Let's refresh. So both the programs has completed successfully. So let us go to journals and manage journals. Let us get the journal batch name. So this is the journal batch name. Let's go here, click on this search and give the journal batch here. An accounting period should be November 2018. So let's select 11/18 and click on search to see whether journal line has been created or not. So here it is. It has been created successfully. So this is how we can automate the entire FBDI process using Oracle SOA Suite. Though we have developed a very generic one, but it can be made more generic and reusable one for file upload and submitting jobs, checking job status, downloading files, basically the jobs log and output. And obviously these all processes should be parameterized by creating XSDs. And there should be one wrapper SOA composite to invoke all these parameterized SOA composite to drive end-to-end automation process. Therefore, the wrapper SOA processes should include all parameters which is taken by each of the previously mentioned processes in its input XSD scheme. Moreover, to send out notifications, Oracle SOA Suite has got email activity and we have to just configure the SMTP server to send out emails or messaging activity. So let's see that. Here it is. So as you can see, Oracle has got email, IM, SMS, user notification and voice. The next point would be to remove all the hard codings and its values that we have given here. So for that, we need to create DVM file for each of the environment and include the environment specific variables and their values. At last, I want to say that the SOA composite can also be shipped to other SOA environments as is and can be scheduled using ESS scheduler in EM console or can be invoked from using PL SQL or Java or any other technology using this composite's wisdom. Last but not the least, the same composite can be deployed in Oracle PaaS also. It can be deployed as is in SOA CS, but the same model can be followed to develop a composite in the Integration Cloud Service, which is ICS, or Oracle Integration Cloud, which is OIC. That is it. Thank you and bye-bye.